Hi, my name is Erica Conley. I am a grad student at Morningside College. Today I will be presenting my presentation to you. My research was testing the effects of direct oral fluency instruction on reading comprehension scores in middle school males in a male treatment center. For the last 6 years, I've been a language arts teacher at a treatment center, but starting this fall, I will be moving to a public school where I will be a 3rd grade special education teacher. The problem statement: 1 in every 4 public school students in 8th grade lacks basic grade level reading skills. The ability to read and understand what is written is critical to success in our education system. Comprehension becomes especially important to students in later elementary grades because it provides the foundation for further learning in secondary school. Why me? I chose this topic because reading is my passion and I want to know how we can make our students become better readers. The literature review: reading is defined as a multifaceted process involving word recognition, comprehension, fluency, and motivation. Reading is a complex ability and is being taught throughout each grade level in a different way. There are 5 major areas of reading: phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. I will get into the details and the definitions of these on the next slide. In order to be a successful reader, children need to understand each of the 5 areas. Phonics is the method of teaching people to read by correlating sounds to letters or groups of letters in an alphabetic writing system. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear, identify, and manipulate individual sounds. Fluency is the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and proper expression. Vocabulary are the words that make up a language. And comprehension refers to the action or capability of understanding something. It is important to identify reading problems early. Roughly 85% of children diagnosed with learning difficulties have a primary problem of reading and language related skills. This stat alarmed me because that's a very high number, and we all know that when kids have reading problems, that filters into all their other subjects as well. When the learning disability is identified early, the child is more likely to learn strategies that will raise his or her reading to grade level. Too often, the barriers faced by children with difficulty reading outweigh their desire to learn, and without proper guidance, they never overcome those. The meaning of fluency is often misunderstood, which affects both the teaching and the learning of reading. Fluency is just often known as speed reading, which is definitely not the true intent of it. Fluency is important to understanding text. When a reader is fluent, they can connect ideas from the text to their prior knowledge. Past research. A study by Page in 2011 concluded that whole class choral reading as a fluency strategy led to improvements in the decoding process and in oral reading fluency. Another study done by some gentlemen used what is called class-wide peer tutoring. The purpose of their study was to determine if the intervention designed to increase reading comprehension would also increase their fluency. This study was done with 2 6th graders, and what happens is it's class-wide peer tutoring. So they take turns. One student's the tutor while one is the student, and then they flip-flop. And the results showed an increase in both fluency and comprehension both. The gap in the research, there have been a lot of studies done on the correlation between the two, fluency and comprehension, but none that I found were conducted on students in a treatment center, and more specifically, a male treatment center. Goals and objectives. The purpose of this research was to determine the effects of direct oral fluency instruction on reading comprehension scores in middle school students at a male treatment center. The researcher hypothesized scores on Jamestown grade level comprehension assessments would improve with the implementation of direct fluency instruction on a daily basis. The variables were: independent was the implementation of oral fluency instruction daily, and the dependent was the reading comprehension scores. Possible impact. The results of this study can help teachers make instructional decisions about the correlation between fluency instruction and comprehension scores. Some of the common interventions are modeling, repeated readings, providing text at their independent reading levels, choral reading, reader's theater, and partner reading. Methodology. There were 27 5th through 8th grade male participants who all attended a male treatment center. The participants were a mixture of general education students and special education students. All the participants were students in the researchers' language arts classes. The materials used were Jamestown reading passages, passages from A to Z.com, a digital timer, and a Google ThinkPad laptop. The procedure, this was 16 weeks in length. So the first week on Monday and Wednesday, the students completed 2 Jamestown reading probes. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Jamestown, what it is, it's a reading passage, and there's all different reading levels of them. And at the end, there are 10 multiple choice questions. So they completed one of those on Monday and one on Wednesday for a baseline score, and then those scores were recorded. On Tuesday and Thursday of that first week, they did a 1-minute timed reading passage just to see where their words per minute were. Excuse me. The next 7 weeks was the baseline phase. So things continued as normal during class. So DOL, some fluency instruction, but not as intense as what the treatment phase will be. We are implementing Kansas University or KU writing strategies in our class. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, those are strategies to get students to write better in different types of sentences, such as, they're simple, compounds, compound, complex, just so kids aren't writing the same sentences over and over and over again. After the baseline phase was the treatment phase. And this is when the oral fluency instruction was done on a daily basis. So for the first 10 minutes of every day, every class period, the kids would read a book silently at their independent reading level. Twice per week, just to make sure that the students were actually reading, they had to either write a summary for me of what they read or give an oral summary if they preferred. Some other things that were done were partner reading. So what I did was paired a fluent reader with a non-fluent reader so that the non-fluent reader could hear a fluent reader read. Reader's theater is where there's a script, and the students were all assigned a part of the play, and we went through that as a class and performed it. Choral reading, where the whole class read a passage or a book in unison. We did whole class read-alouds, where the class voted on a book and the teacher did a read-aloud with the kids. And the purpose of that was, again, to have the non-fluent readers listen to a fluent reader read. Repeated readings were also used. And repeated readings, the point is, so they read the same thing over and over again and to help improve that fluency. Oh, shoot. And then at the end of that 16 weeks, they completed 2 more Jamestown reading probes, and those scores were recorded as well. A paired sample t-test was used to determine if improvements were made, and this was an A/B research design. So the students were scored, their scores were compared to kids that were in their same program at the treatment center. And at the treatment center, there's 3 different groups. There's the residential kids, and those are kids that are court-ordered there and live there and don't go home every day. So here, their initial mean was 50, almost 58, with a standard deviation of 17.86, so almost 18. And at the end of the study, their mean went up to almost 68, and their standard deviation was 15.5. The next group of kids is the Daily Choices kids, and they are students that still go home. They go home every night, but they have more intense treatment. So after school, they go up to their cottage and they do ART therapy, which is anger replacement, or they do individual therapy or group therapy. At the beginning, their mean was 48.3 with a standard deviation of 11, and at the end, their mean went up to 53. And their standard deviation was 22.5. The next group of kids was the day school kids. And these kids only went to school at our treatment center. So they would go home every night and wouldn't do the intense therapy. So these are a lot of the kids that maybe are truant too often or just don't get along with the kids at school or refuse to do their homework, those types of things. Their mean started at 60, about 63.5, almost 64, with a standard deviation of 19.3. And at the end, theirs went up to almost 68 for their mean and a standard deviation of about 15.5. Some implications for this study. This study is valuable from an educator's perspective and provides helpful data for reading instruction. The results indicated how important fluency is for the reader and how it can be related to achievement in reading comprehension. This supports the research of fluency interventions. It is likely that the success was because of the different variety of fluency interventions that were implemented. Jamestown reading passages were an effective reading intervention. The students showed growth during weeks 8 through 14 compared to weeks 1 through 7. Jamestown seemed to improve the comprehension and fluency of the students. Students of all reading levels were able to use Jamestown passages to help close the gap. Impact on students and teachers. This research study provides evidence on how consistent fluency interventions will help improve different aspects of reading. Some limitations. The time period was too short. Would the entire school year have been better? Would give the students more time to learn the fluency interventions, and would give the researchers more time to collect and analyze data. Some more limitations, external interruptions. Because these kids had mental illnesses and behavior problems, they had lots of appointments such as therapy or med checks or just other checkups. It was hard to find a time to teach the lesson to them outside of class time. Behaviors. When a student was acting out, it was hard for the other students to focus when one of their peers was having behaviors. And again, it was hard to find the time to make up the lesson with the students who missed the lesson due to them being removed. Some more limitations. 27 students was a relatively small sample size, and also it was all males. There was no females involved. Jamestown reading passages were the only assessment used, and the students were not grouped based on their reading ability. They were grouped based on the program that they were in the treatment center. Suggestions for future research: include a larger sample size and possibly include females. Conduct the research over a longer period of time, possibly the entire school year. Group the students based on their reading levels instead of the program they are in at the treatment center. And also maybe open up the classroom before and after school to allow students to complete missing work due to outside interruptions. And here are my references. Thanks for listening.